Marvel fans, we must talk about Kingpin coming into the MCU. The character teased at the end of Hawkeye Episode 2 has deep connections to Kingpin in the comic books. We want to talk about what that scene means for the episode and why we believe that Kingpin will be coming into later episodes of the show. But there's even more as new leaked information is circulating out there about what Marvel is doing with Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin and how it's wildly different than what you saw in the Netflix show. Let's break it all down. What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerd Ventures Tower as per usual. Do me a favor and smash the like on this button if you liked the first two episodes of Hawkeye, and if you didn't like them, well, smash like anyway. Come on, man. Now, I want to combine a bunch of information about Kingpin and the big rumor that Kingpin will be showing up in the later episodes of Hawkeye, and we think we got our first real tease of that with that character introduced at the end of episode 2. But again, there's even more crazy stuff out there about how D'Onofrio's maybe gonna be wearing a fat suit. Are they fat Thoring Kingpin? We'll get into that at the end of the video. But first, let's talk about Maya Lopez, aka Echo. Now, I'm looking at an article over here on murphysmultiverse.com breaking down what this is going to mean. Okay, so this character here that we see at the end of that episode is Maya Lopez, aka Echo, and she is played by newcomer Alika Cox and will spin off into her own Marvel Studios streaming series, which will probably stream in 2023. While we don't get to see much of Lopez in episode 2, her presence, accompanied by a killer beat, it is true, seems to imply bad things coming for Barton and Bishop. First introduced in 1999's Daredevil Volume 2, Number 9, Lopez was raised by and worked for the Kingpin after he murdered her father. Marvel Studios isn't big on direct page-to-screen adaptations of the stories or characters, so the dynamic history seems like it'll be a little bit different here, with Lopez seeming to serve as a lieutenant for the Kingpin, getting her hands dirty so he won't have to. To that end, Lopez has an impressive skill set that will almost certainly be sampled in episode 3. Born deaf, Lopez displayed what the comics called photographic reflexes from an early age. Simply put, Lopez demonstrated the ability to watch someone do something and then repeat it at an expert level. This ability allowed her to master musical instruments despite not being able to hear them, drawing, dancing, and, relevant to her position, someone who kicks ass for the Kingpin, martial arts. So she's very gifted at that as well. The end of the episode gives us just enough information to know that the MCU iteration of the character is deaf. Like in the comics, she can read lips and is feared as a physical threat. One of the tracksuits ominously says, "You're in trouble now, bro," before cutting to our first look at Lopez, which is really funny and self-aware comment because he realizes that Barton was never in trouble before, despite being surrounded by a half a dozen bros. We also know that her father, played by Zan McClaren, will appear in the series. This is somewhat of an old exclusive of theirs, so it's important to note that we are just at the beginning of Lopez's journey. While Lopez may start the series in the employment of a head of organized crime, it's highly unlikely she finishes that way, and even more unlikely she's on good terms with whomever that is. Now, we strongly feel that that will be Kingpin. So, Maya Lopez has a really interesting history in the comics. She does a bunch of different things, but she does become Ronin at some point in the comics and is actually covertly working for the Avengers, shutting down the Hand and the Yakuza over in Japan. Now, somewhere along the lines in the comics, she is not Ronin anymore because she's killed by Elektra, who actually brings her back to life and then mind controls her to try to join the Hand once again. But while she is gone, there is another Ronin, and that Ronin is actually Clint Barton, okay? And so with the Ronin suit being a big focus of these first two episodes, and with Maya being the person teased at the end of episode 2, you can assume that there's history between Maya and Clint Barton, and maybe they've actually communicated before with regards to the Ronin mantle and what that all means. And as Charles implies in that article, we are hearing that Maya's father, who is Native American, will be seen in the show as well. And so there could be some really interesting things going on with Maya Lopez and her connections to Ronin, her connections to possibly Clint Barton and other street-level characters in the Marvel Universe, and also the Kingpin, as yes, she is the adopted daughter of Kingpin, in Marvel Comics. And this has been rumored for a long time that Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, will be in the Hawkeye show and will hopefully be playing a larger role in the MCU moving forward. Now, a lot of this setup with, mystery going on in New York City, this look for the Watch, which we think was one of Stark's watches, a lot of crime that's being controlled and the tracksuit mafia, doing its thing. It really feels like Kingpin could be one of these people at the tippy top of one of these criminal organizations that's pulling strings, having people fight against each other. It's even possible he bought the Avengers Tower, although that seems unlikely to me. Regardless, it would really make sense, especially with the setup we see in the first 2 episodes, for Kingpin to come in and be some kind of a mastermind at the end of this season. But as I teased out before, Marvel is doing something quite different with this version of Kingpin to differentiate him from the Netflix version and make him more like the comic book version. And yes, that includes making him pretty thick. Check this out. Daniel Rickman teased this out a couple of days ago with this ballooned up picture of Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin here. It's absolutely hilarious. You've seen this before, but he teased and said, get ready for this version of Kingpin in Hawkeye. And there are actual images leaked out there online right now that appear to show what Vincent D'Onofrio will look like as Kingpin. We went over this a little bit yesterday in the live stream. But it seems like they have the comic book looking costume with his white coat over the top, even purplish pants and like a brown golden type of shirt that he's wearing. And yes, it does appear that they put him in a fat suit for these scenes. But we're not 100% sure if what those leaked photographs is depicting is the final look of the character. We've heard they're going to use CGI and the prosthetics like the fat suit to make Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin look more like the comic book version, but I don't think he's going to look ridiculous, and I don't think he's going to look quite as bad as, honestly, those leaked photographs look. And of course, let us know what you think about that. Like, are you a fan of Thick Boy Kingpin, of the bigger, more comic book accurate Kingpin? Or did you want him to just look like he did in the Daredevil show? Because a lot of people are like, no, he was good enough. It was awesome like that. Why are they doing this? This is crazy. Now, let's talk about just that, because what this clearly indicates is that even though they are using these same actors, and Feige believes that a lot of these actors from the Netflix shows just played these characters so brilliantly, it also shows us he's going to go to somewhat great lengths to differentiate his version of these characters from the Daredevil one. Like, if they really do this, and it seems like they're going to, there's no way you can believe that this is in the same universe as the Netflix shows. It's super clever. This is something I didn't really see coming. And even though, I heard that we're going to get a different Daredevil suit, the yellow and red one, for Matt Murdock and She-Hulk, and possibly even moving forward, I didn't see this coming at all. Making Kingpin really big, making him a thick boy, and making him much more like the comic books, that's pretty crazy. I wonder what they'll do with other type characters if they end up bringing in someone like the Punisher. What's going to be going on there? What kind of changes will they make to that character? Are there even more changes to Daredevil? Are his powers going to work slightly differently? Is he going to be way more agile and crazy and a better fighter? I don't know. I'm really excited to see it. I personally am okay with Thick Boy Kingpin. I'm going to wait to pass judgment until we see the final thing on the screen at the end of Hawkeye, right? But at this point, it's just so much craziness with regards to Kingpin, with regards to Echo, who, yes, is getting her own actual Disney Plus streaming show, the Echo show. It actually has a grid. They're going to start shooting that next year, and it's heavily implied that show is going to have a lot of the cast from the Daredevil show from Netflix in it, maybe with changes to make them more comic book accurate or to differentiate the MCU version from the Netflix version. We're all pretty confident that Kingpin is absolutely going to be happening, and apparently you're getting Thick Boy Kingpin, more like the comic books for the MCU version. So let us know what you think about all of that and more. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to our channel to see more of our content pop up in your recommended feed, and go check out the live streaming channel, man. We have a ton of fun over there. We do watch parties for Hawkeye. We're going to be doing watch parties for Book of Boba Fett. It's going to be a very good time, so go check that out. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.